How are you guys doing today? Because I'm doing good, except for that I realized that I look like a fantasy character who is an old elf man. I literally look like Elrond right now. So today I want to be showing you guys my physical TBR. Now for some people it may be a lot, and for others it may not be that much. And I'm not on here to be comparing myself to everybody else and be like,
oh, well, I don't have as much books as this person, so,
That doesn't change the fact that I have more books than I can read right now. So let's get into the books that I have on my physical TBR. I don't know how much I'm going to be able to tell you about each and every one of them because although I have watched videos that have told me a little bit about the books, I don't remember all of it. Maybe I just brain dumped it on purpose so that I don't spoil myself for the book. I don't know, but I just my memory is not that good, so I just kind of be forgetting stuff. But let's go ahead and get into all of these books that I have. Okay, so I am sitting on the floor right now, and the books are about as tall as me sitting in front of me. Let's see if I can hold them all up. Oh, this is a terrible idea. I see everyone do this, and I don't know why they do, but here we go. Look at that. This is a chunky amount. My bookshelf is also looking very sad behind me right now. So not all of those books on this bookshelf have been read by me. However, some of these books are my husband's books. If you watch my first video, then you will know which books I read on the shelf. The genre is not very diverse, and I want to get into that as I get into reading more, and I want to get into diverse authors so I can basically be able to learn more about other people's cultures from all over the world. Very interested, very excited to diversify my reading. However, this is my one literary fiction book, or is it just fiction? It might be literary fiction. Life of Pi. I don't know very much about this, but I do know that it is a young kid who, after the sinking of a cargo ship, this kid goes on a lifeboat and it is just him, a hyena, a wounded zebra, an orangutan, and a Royal Bengal tiger are the only ones who survive this sinking, and it's basically a story of that. And so although this is a short book, I'm kind of worried to read this book because, it's a well-renowned book, so it's got to be interesting, but at the same time I'm a little nervous because I'm like, are they just in the water the whole time? And the beginning of the book, I read the author's little beginning part, and I was thinking to myself, and I was like, is this a real book? Did this really happen? Is this a real story? Because the beginning of the book makes me feel like it's real. So he did that, and then I barely read into chapter 1, so I only read the prologue. Is it a prologue or is it just the author's note? That's what it is. I just read the author's note. It was making me feel like it was real. Alright, so that's the only literary fiction, and then everything else is sci-fi and fantasy. And I think there's only one sci-fi book. Okay, one sci-fi book, one dystopian book, and then a fantasy book that is almost literary fiction. Malice by John Gwynne. I'm so excited to read this. I cannot wait, but I need to wait because right now I'm reading Royal Assassin and I'm a little over halfway through it, I think, if not just at halfway. It's kind of slow paced. I know that John Gwynne has some ruthless pacing, but my husband had just told me that I need to read the books on my shelf before I buy new ones. Well, if I read the first book in Malice, then I'm going to want to continue and buy the next book because I'm trying to only buy the first book in a series unless I get a really good deal with Malice. I know that is an epic, high fantasy, high stakes, and that it gets very emotional, and that it is a group of people who come together and they fight together, and I really don't know that much about it, but I'm so excited. And when I do figure out what it's about and I read it, I will try to give the best summary that I can for you guys. I have heard so many great things about it. I really respect the author, and when I really respect the author, I'm gonna read the book. As long as it's in my wheelhouse. The Bone Ships, I had heard some things about, haven't heard about this one as much, but I kept seeing it, and I was like, okay, nautical fantasy. Dragons are in this book. I love dragons. So it's looking like they spot a dragon for the first time in many centuries. There's an endless war, of course. Sounds like a fantasy book to me. What made me pick this book up is because I did read the first chapter or first couple pages, and I really, really liked the prose of R.J. Barker. And so I was like, yeah, I want to read this because I think I'm really, really going to enjoy it. I also love the cover. The cover is beautiful, the spine is beautiful, and the prose is beautiful from what I read, so I'm really hoping that this is going to be a good book. I'm also going to say that all the books that I have are books that I really think I'm going to enjoy. Like, I don't pick up books where I'm going to be like, oh yeah, maybe I'll do it. No, I pick them up and I'm like, okay, I'm going to like these books, most likely. Yeah, I really try to be purposeful when I buy books. And then we have this big book that you could build houses with. This book is huge. It is Assassin's Quest. It is like 835 pages or 836 pages, something like that. It is the third book in the Farseer trilogy, all a part of the Elderlings saga from Robin Hobb, otherwise known as the First Lady of Fantasy, as Mike's book reviews will say. I'm really enjoying the second book, really enjoyed the first book, enjoying the second one even more. I heard that this one is not as good as the other two, which is, I'm just gonna take that with a grain of salt because a lot of people said her books are really slow and maybe that's why I don't like them as much, or she does a lot of slice of life, which I really enjoy. I think it's really nice that she can write about very mundane things but still keep you interested, and all of it has so much purpose. I love that. So really looking forward to this. I know it's gonna be good. Whether it's as good, I don't know, but it's still gonna be Robin Hobb, so I think it's still gonna be good. Because we got a dystopian, oh, I forgot to tell you, that's high fantasy too. I think The Bone Ships is also going to be a high fantasy. This is a dystopian, obviously, The Hunger Games. I never read it. I know, I'm slacking, I left the movies. And if you don't know what The Hunger Games is about, I doubt you. I doubt that. I really do. I think you're lying to me. Why are you lying? You know what this is about. I'm excited to read it. I want to know the true story. Okay. Next is my only sci-fi book. This big old tome. I got the special edition because it was calling my name. I would go into Barnes and Nobles maybe every week. I would go into Barnes and Nobles a lot, and I will go and not buy anything. I'll just go to look. I love the environment. I just love to go and look at books, and it just fills me with the same joy if I were to buy the book. Sometimes I leave a little less happy if I buy the book because I'm like, oh my gosh, I just spent money. I don't have the money to be buying these books. And this book was kind of expensive. It is such a beautiful, beautiful edition though. And I know this freaking sticker thing, don't worry about that, okay? Dune, sci-fi, probably one of the most influential sci-fis. If I'm gonna be real with y'all, I don't really know what it's about other than they're on this planet full of sand dunes or something. It is probably sad how much I don't know about this, but my husband wants me to read the book and he keeps telling me I won't. He keeps telling me I won't read the book because he keeps wanting me to watch the movie. And I said, no, I want to read the book before I watch the movie because I want to know, pick apart the differences. I want to get the original story before I get the adapted story. And he's like, well, you're never going to read it. Honey, I'm going to read it. I will. Howl's Moving Castle, y'all. This is a book that is actually for kids, and this is the original Howl's Moving Castle. I watched the movie and did not know it was based on a book by Miss Diana Wynne Jones. I had no idea it was based on this book at all. But I'm very excited to read it. And I started reading it with a friend and we both fell off and stopped reading it. So, but that happens. Starting a book clubs with friends is really hard when you have lives and things to do and stuff. But I liked what I was reading so far. I heard that it is very different from the movie, but from what I had read, it honestly wasn't that different. But if you haven't watched the Studio Ghibli adaptation of this book, you really need to. It is so good, and it's one of the first anime movies that I had watched that my mother had introduced to me, and I loved it. Still love it. Favorite Studio Ghibli movie to this day, though The Boy and the Heron is giving it a run for its money. I did watch it in dubbed because of Robert Pattinson doing the Heron. Could not even tell it was Robert Pattinson. I'm so glad that he is diversifying his acting career to also doing voice acting, and I wish for the best for him because it really started out kind of rough with Twilight and stuff. But we're not talking about movies right now. We're talking about this book and how good it is that I read so far and that I'm really excited to read. Children's fantasy. All right, so let's just group these together. 3, 4, and 5. of the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series, The Titan's Curse, The Battle of the Labyrinth, and The Last Olympian. I had read The Sea of Monsters when I was a kid, which I've talked about a couple times. Didn't read the first one, but now this 3, 4, and 5 I know absolutely nothing about, so I'm so excited to jump into these middle grade fantasy books. So good for escapism, and I'm really excited to just dive in and just kind of get out of my head and out of all the things I'm dealing with in the now and just go to a different world with these characters and see how it ends and also catch up before the show finishes coming out. Eragon is the next book. It is a young adult fantasy book, and it is a part of the Inheritance cycle by Christopher Paolini, and I also respect this author because he wrote this book when he was 16 years old. 15 years old. That's incredible. I can't even think and be creative enough to write a whole fantasy book that also got adapted into a movie that a lot of people said sucked. I watched it as a kid and I really liked it as a kid, except for the main villain was very terrifying to me. I don't really remember what happened in that movie, but that's exactly how I like it. That's how I want it. I want to go into this book knowing that there's a dragon in it and a farm boy, and the farm boy is gonna get the dragon, be with the dragon and train the dragon and all that kind of stuff. That's all I need to know. That's it. I love dragons. I'm very excited because it's a whole series, so I'm ready. And
maybe we'll see a faithful adaptation, probably a show adaptation, eventually, maybe. That'd be pretty cool. And, that's all I gotta say about this.
alright, so we've only got 5 more books left. Red Seas Under Red Skies by Scott Lynch.
It is the second book in the Gentleman, I don't want to say it, B-words? B-A-S-T. I don't want to curse on this channel. I am a Marine, and I do curse in real life, but as I do not know who this channel will find, I don't really want to curse on here, and especially as a Christian, I want to try to be better about cursing, but also be real and let y'all know that I'm not perfect and that I do curse.
Alright, that has nothing to do with the book except for that the book does have a lot of cursing. It doesn't bother me, but it may bother other people. I was so excited to pick it up once I read the first book. It is over 700 pages though, and I'm kind of nervous to jump into a big book. Even though it looks small, the words are pretty tiny. But I do have this little sticker that I'm going to use as a bookmark that my husband bought for me at this fantasy bookstore. This is a high stakes fantasy book as well. The world building is not very hard to understand because it's not super complex, but I do understand that this one takes place on a ship. It is supposed to be more nautical than the first one, which is Eliza Black Lamora, which was not nautical at all. It's about thieves. The author's prose is really good. This book, Eliza Black Lamora, pick them up. It may be a little lower on the TBR only because I want to finish some of my shorter books first. That way I can buy some more books. The next book is Jade City by Fonda Lee, which is going to be a very cool book to read because this is an Asian author. This book is supposed to be kind of like a Hong Kong gangster, Hong Kong mafia, sort of mixed in with fantasy where jade is a magical thing. I'm very excited to read this book. I've heard it is so good that people, both men and women, really enjoy this book, which I think is very fun because fantasy, I feel like, ends up being a more male-dominated side of literature, side of readers. They're mainly going to be males reading the epic fantasy, the high fantasy that doesn't have very much to do with romance, because I know there are a lot of romance reader girls who like reading romantasy, which I feel like places more. I haven't read any of it, so I'm not going to try to judge a book by its cover, but I heard that it kind of is more smut and romance than it is actual fantasy and world building and intricate plots. And tell me if I'm wrong, kindly, please, in the comments. So let me just go on to the next one. The first Brandon Sanderson book that I want to read is Elantris, which is actually his first published book. As far as I know, he actually wrote 6 books before he published this one, and I don't know very much about it. So let me just read the back for you. How about that?
Elantris was beautiful once. It was called the City of Gods, a place of power, radiance, and magic. Visitors say that the very stones glowed with an inner light, and that the city contained wondrous arcane marvels. At night, Elantris shone like a great silvery fire, visible even from a great distance. Yet, as magnificent as Elantris had been, its inhabitants had been more so. Their hair a brilliant white, their skin an almost metallic silver. The Elantrians seemed to shine like the city itself. Legend claimed that they were immortal, or at least nearly so. Their bodies healed quickly, and they were blessed with great strength, insight, and speed. They could perform magics with a bare wave of a hand. Men visited Elantris from all across Opalon to receive Elantrian healings, food, or wisdom. They were divinities.
I mean, honestly, that's all I need to know. If the world sounds cool, I'm reading it. I'm there. I think that this is a little higher on the TBR because I think it might be a little easier to read, a little quicker to read. The next book I'm very, very excited about, but I'm very nervous to read, and that is Babel by R.F. Kuang, another Asian author. and this story is supposed to tackle colonialism as well as that sort of same topic within universities. And I want to say that this does not take place in America. Yes, okay, as the dominating tool of the British Empire. So it's like I've heard a lot of things about these books, and then like I said, I just brain dump it and then I forget. I've heard a lot of great things about this book. I know that there's quite a bit of trigger warnings. I'm a little nervous about that. I don't know what all happens in this book, what all the trigger warnings are. I just know some of them. I know that the magic in this book, it is a fantasy, but more kind of bordering the lines of a literary fiction, from what my husband said, from just reading a little bit of it. The language is kind of like their magic in this book, and as an aspiring linguist, which is what I joined the Marine Corps for, is to be a linguist, and then as now an aspiring translator, I am very excited to read this book and see all the uses of the language that she has in here. And she is a very, very intelligent woman, the author. Just a little bit of what I read, her prose is looking good. She's very educated, and we love that for her. I respect that. I really respect that. She's smart, she's intelligent, an Asian woman author writing about something she feels passionate about. We love to see it. The last book, but not least, I am excited to read The Shadow of What Was Lost by James Islington. And this is just another epic fantasy, a modern epic fantasy. I hear a lot of good things about it. It says, you love The Wheel of Time? This is going to become one of your new favorite series. Barnes & Noble Sci-Fi and Fantasy blog, not the blog. Yeah, so I have not read Wheel of Time. I kind of don't plan on reading The Wheel of Time. I've heard so many things about it, and if you want to convince me to read The Wheel of Time in the comments, do it, because you might convince me. But I do hear, again, about some triggering things that happen. It just sounds a little messy in those parts, and I know that Ian Goobly read this, and he really enjoyed it, and so I'm looking forward to reading this, and know that I want to say Patrick Leo also read it and also enjoyed it. So basically I've had some influences to be like, here you go, this is a good book. And I love the cover, y'all. This cover is so beautiful. So beautiful. And for what? All of the covers to this series is beautiful. So that is my 16 book TBR. Honestly, I thought I had more. I thought I had like 20. Am I missing something? Oh no. Oh gosh. This is just so chaotic. No, I don't think I'm missing anything. Okay, the Silmarillion. The Silmarillion's on there. That is 17. And this is like the history, basically. So the Silmarillion is basically like the Lord of the Rings kind of history book. It reads like a textbook from what I hear, and it's not up there. It's not up there on the physical TBR. I'm hoping, honestly, okay, this is gonna be a brave claim because my goal is 12 books this year, but to read all of these books on my physical TBR would be insane. Like, not counting the rest of the series that are in the store, and I haven't bought them yet. Just counting these, me being able to read all of these, that would be so exciting. And then I also did not count, I have a lot of Spanish books, but I'm gonna use those solely to study. Those are not on my TBR because those books, if I were to put those on there, it would literally take me years and years and years to read them because my fluency is not up there for me to be reading full-length novels. Now I'm working on the Inheritance games in Spanish, but that's already taken me quite some time. I'm very excited to continue this journey of YouTube, to continue this journey of reading in 2024 and really dive in and try to get away from my addiction to YouTube and try to calm down and slow down in life and enjoy the hobbies that I have, enjoy time with friends while also reading, enjoy time with my husband while reading together, or reading while he's playing video games or something like that, and just enjoying life more. I feel like books kind of help you enjoy life a little bit more, a little bit of escapism from your problems, but you also know that like you come back to those problems, you know. And I pray about it, and the Bible's on my TBR, okay? Can we count that as 18? I don't think so. Can we not? Because I will not be able to read the entire Bible this year. But I am trying to read one chapter every morning. I think books are a tool from the Lord to help us cope with things, to help us with our empathy, to help us be able to communicate with each other, give us something to be able to relate to with one another and enjoy with each other. You can enjoy books with other people. You can join book clubs. It's just another thing that the Lord has given us to enjoy here on this earth. So I don't know why I went on this whole tangent other than the Lord is good, y'all. And I'm excited for this year. I hope you're excited for this year. Tell me what books you want to read. Tell me what books you want me to read. Tell me what books you're excited for me to read on my physical TBR. If you read any of them, please no spoilers in the comments, but let me know how you feel about them. And yeah, I hope you have a wonderful, beautiful day, a wonderful, beautiful 2024. Let me know if you have some reading goals, how big your physical TBR is, how many books you read last year. Just tell me everything. I'll read it, okay? All right, I am so glad you guys came to join me here today. And yeah, I hope you guys have just a wonderful day. God bless. Bye.